Awesome. Welcome back to the sanctuary, folks. We are here with a friend of mine and a friend of our family's, known for quite some time, Katy Clark. It's such an honor. She is a professional musician. She is 1/3 of the Purple Hulls. Probably many of you know that band. And she's going to be here today sharing her life story about her faith, her music, some of the ministry she does, travels and so forth. So thanks so much, Katy.
Thank you, Ken.
I appreciate
Thanks for having
you.
me up to the sanctuary.
Ah, yes, yes. It's got a cool vibe, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
great.
Well, how did we meet? Was it through Ella Ruth?
It's got to be. Yeah.
Ella Ruth. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sweet lady who comes up in conversation pretty often in our family.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So Ella Ruth is my mother-in-law, and so she's been friends with the Clark's family from the Kilgore area, East Texas area, for a number of years. And so, tell us a little bit about your upbringing, Katy. Did you grow up in a Christian home? Was it, how was your upbringing?
Well, first to say, gosh, we miss Ella Ruth, and she was the source of a lot of laughter and fun.
Amen.
For anyone she was around. So I've known her as long as I can remember, and grew up in just outside of Kilgore, Texas, on a farm, just a family farm that goes back to, we know, pre-Civil War days on my mom's side of the family.
Yeah, yeah.
And was very blessed to grow up in a Christian home. And Forest Home Baptist Church was where I knew your mother-in-law, where I got to know Ella Ruth. And my uncle was the preacher, and my daddy was a deacon.
You didn't have a chance.
My mom did not have a chance. My mom played the piano, and my grandmother played the organ.
Yes.
And we were in church just every time the doors were open, because we were just very involved. And it was a great way to grow up. Of course, you don't know any different as a child growing up in that environment. And then as you grow and as you become aware of other people's stories, I realized the great blessing and rarity it was to have the example of, very godly parents and extended family as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And just very thankful for my upbringing. There's really not a negative aspect that I can dwell on in my upbringing. It was very joy-filled and a very encouraging environment to grow up in that there was a lot of playfulness, and I guess exploration. It was just, we were free to kind of, my siblings and I were
we weren't glued to YouTube or an iPad or anything.
There's a lot of work to be done as far as farm stuff goes.
Right,
there was a lot of just daily chores and things like that, and we were very back to the basics in terms of how we ate, and just our entertainment even, as we hunted and fished, and grew up playing sports as well, though, with sports teams, and it was a great farm life.
I think so many people think that, as far as Christian faith, the man I just introduced you to, he said for a number of years I felt like, I just didn't really have a solid Christian testimony. I would listen to these people, and they either got in drugs, or they were alcohol, or they were in rehab, or they were in jail, and they met Jesus, and it was like bam, bam. And
I love it.
he said, I just grew up in church, and it was about all I knew, and I accepted the Lord when I was 8 years old. I was, that's kind of a similar story.
Similar for sure. It is.
Yeah.
It's a blessing.
Was your family musical? How did you come about your gifts and talents here?
My mom's side of the family is very musical. Her mother, Teeny Still, Jakey Still, like I said, was our church organist, but she was very formally educated. And so she was a teacher for her career. She had her master's in music education, and she spent her career teaching kiddos, mostly choir and that kind of thing. But it started a lot, our musical journey, I say my sisters and mine, and our journey started with my grandmother forcing us to sing anywhere we were in town with her. Anytime we went to town with Granny, she had us sing a song, and She taught us how to sing harmony, and she taught us solfege and in the car, and she told us, you sing this note, now you sing this note, I'll sing it together, and she would sing the fifth, and then she would move apart. And she instilled in us, I think, just a love for harmony, and she taught us piano lessons. When we were little, we would ride the four-wheeler over to her house on the other side of the farm and take lessons, and we didn't want to sit there. We wanted to play, you know, but she taught us just like she would any other kid, and it began there. I guess we were probably 8 or 10 when we started piano lessons, but she's super musical. My mom is super musical. As far as my dad's side of the family, there is some natural music talent. Nobody ever pursued it, I think, as a job much, but I think definitely it's in the blood, you know.
Yeah, so, just naturally you learned it from family and everything. Did you go to university? Did you train or anything? You learn this, or you just do it all on your own?
Yeah. In short, yes, we were trained, not at a university, but at a little junior college out in West Texas called South Plains College in Levelland, Texas, and sits in the middle of thousands of acres of cotton fields out there. And
It's kind of a well-known music school for
it
just
is.
a little
it really
place
is.
where it's at.
One that I had never heard of growing up.
Yeah.
It's very unique. And I guess in high school, I started playing a little bit of banjo. It was there at the house, left by my brother who was in college at Texas A&M, and he started playing banjo at Texas A&M and got upgraded at one point and left his original banjo, which belonged to my uncle.
Okay.
Left it at the house one summer. And
You got the hand-me-down.
I think in like 10th grade or something, I found the book and the banjo,
Yeah.
That's kind of how it started. And then finished up high school. We really didn't have a lot of people around us playing music, no one to really hang out with and learn from. We did take from Mr. Don Eves in Overton, which was great, from the Hickory Hill Bluegrass Band. But that was our only...
I didn't know. Hickory Hill?
Yeah, Hickory Hill, Don Eves.
I know those guys.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Joe Early. And
of course.
all those,
We grew up on them at the Overton Bluegrass Festival.
Yes.
And loved Don Eves, and we still keep in touch. And he was our first teacher.
Oh, wow. Small world.
And then we graduated high school, and we made the trek out 500 miles west to South Plains College to play basketball.
Okay. You got the height for it.
Yeah. We loved, like I said, we grew up playing sports, and me and my sister and I just loved any kind of roughhousing contact sports you could could get into. So basketball was kind of our thing, and South Plains College had a really good NJCAA program. I mean, they were winning it, you know, and sending most of their athletes on to D1 schools. And we were recruited to play there, and we thought, oh, that's cool, because we can play basketball and maybe get into a little bit of music. Turns out you couldn't. The program was too demanding to do both. And I think the coach saw that our attention was divided.
Yeah.
And he was actually the one that really encouraged us just to pursue music. If you're gifted at that, you'll be doing that longer than you'll be playing basketball.
Right. It's wisdom.
He was a bluegrass music fan, and he was also just a really well-known Hall of Famer coach, Coach Harden. And he said, you know, he kind of just encouraged us to play music. And so we backed out of the ball program and focused on banjo lessons in college. Pretty neat opportunity. Yeah.
So you graduated from there. What year was that?
We graduated in 2007. We crammed 3 years into a 2-year university.
Wow.
2-year college.
I knew you were an overachiever.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I knew it, you know. So after you graduated there, you got your music degree. What did you think, I'm going to do this full time, or is this just, I'm going to get a job now and I'm welcome to the real world? Or
yeah, that's a good question.
What happened after the graduation with the music degree?
I think I had applied to go to Texas A&M and major in some kind of agriculture or
something
science.
practical.
I was like, okay, I did the junior college thing.
Yeah.
No pressure from parents to do anything. Like,
Okay, that's good.
It wasn't like you need to go to university or you need to find something to do with this music that you've invested in. So I just felt like the world was my oyster in a sense. But my brother, our older brother Ben, 7 years older than us, had just made the move to Nashville. And he called us up as we were finishing up our time at South Plains College and said, why don't y'all come up to Nashville after you graduate and I'll help you find a job.
Okay.
So there was that kind of lead, I guess you could say. And it was really kind of the beginning of us following a lot in our brother's footsteps. And we had never played music together with him, you know,
Right.
because he was gone when he started. But he said, why don't y'all come up to Nashville? So we did. I spent the summer of that year growing and picking peas. And then peas were done. And we just said, how about tomorrow? My sister and I were like, why don't we leave tomorrow to go to Nashville? So
Good
we
time
did.
as any,
We
yeah.
just, we were 21. And we drove up there. Yeah. It was really fun.
And when you got to Nashville, I mean, people want to go to Nashville. They want to get into the business. They want to start a career. They want to become famous or whatever, chase their dreams. There's,
Yeah.
you know, when my daughter was up at Belmont,
Yeah.
and you know, you could go into restaurants, and I mean, there's someone playing in a corner, and there's tremendous talent. I mean, wow.
Truly.
And I would hear them songs, and you know, they would come around and try to sell me a CD for $5 or $10, you know,
Yeah.
you know, a little paper on it, you know, nothing fancy, just trying to, you know, probably just trying to, you know, pay the rent or whatever. So when you got there, did you go, wow, there's some crazy good people here in Nashville?
Yes. And it seemed like such a big city, you know.
Yes.
I just,
Oh yeah. From Levelland.
from Kilgore, you know. And then I thought Nashville, I just thought this place is so big. And I just remember studying the map, you know, trying to figure out how to get around the place. And the first week we got there, within a few days, our brother had told us, you need to be rigged up and ready to hit the road. That's the way it is in Nashville. You know, you got to be able to say yes if somebody calls.
Yeah.
You can't say no. You got to say yes.
Brother's looking out for you.
He did, and so we went and got rigged up. We bought flight cases, we bought pedal boards, and everything you would need to be in a band with electric instruments and be heard on an acoustic instrument. And so we were anticipating, you know, well, what are we going to get? We didn't know what we were going to get into, so it did seem like a grandiose place, but also just one full of opportunity, and it was exciting because we didn't know exactly what direction we were headed. We were just so fresh, as in we had just been playing a few years. And we were just there, ready to say yes, you know, to any opportunity.
Sure.
So it was great. We moved into a room that my brother had moved out of because he had just recently gotten married, and we lived in a house with 3 guys.
Okay.
And my sister and I shared a bedroom in this house with 3 of my brother's friends, and they were all musicians and full-time roadies, you know, and it was fun. It was fun to, you know, kind of dive right into the
get right in the
world.
mix.
Yeah.
And so did anything develop for you? Did you know, did you what did you do to make a living, or while you were trying to wait for the call? You're rigged up, ready to go.
Yeah.
Did the call come, or what did, you know?
This is fun to think back on all this, Ken.
Yeah.
This was 2007, and so we went to the Grand Ole Opry and got us a little job in the gift shop.
Okay.
And my brother had worked there, and my brother's wife had also worked there, and they said, oh, you should go there. It's flexible, you know. And we did that, and so we started working shows in the gift shop. It was fun. We got to see hundreds of shows over the years, just working there whenever we wanted for gift during show nights.
Were you able to meet these people that were actually playing the Opry, or how did that work?
It actually led to some pretty neat developments.
Yeah.
You weren't supposed to. they used the word germ, like don't be a germ. I didn't know what that meant, but it was like,
well, I don't know what that means.
don't be like a fan. Like,
right.
You can't take pictures
Yeah.
of anybody, and you can't ask anybody to take a picture of you with somebody. I didn't even know that rule. And the first day I met this gal named Sia Cherry Holmes of the Cherry Holmes family, who I was a big fan of, this Bluegrass family. They were killing it. And I met Sia Cherry Holmes just in the hallway, and I was like, oh, hey, Sia, good to meet you. We were about the same age. And I got my picture with her and showed one of our, fellow employees, and they were like, you cannot do that. I was like, oh, well, what's the fun of this job? No, not really.
Right.
But,
I want some perks.
Yeah,
yeah.
Really, there was a lot of neat things that came out of working at the Opry for 5 years.
Yeah.
We worked at the Ryman Auditorium, and we delivered Opry lineups. My sister and I delivered physical Opry lineups to about, I don't know, it was like 50 or 80 establishments around town once a week. They didn't email them. They printed off these lineups, and I would pull up to the hotel or whatever. Penny would run out to the lobby, put one on the door, or give it to the front desk, and before I even could really stop, she was back in the car, and we'd go to the next.
Yeah.
We had like I said, a bunch of places we had to stop.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
Yeah. Did you get to hang out with any of them and have a conversation that you thought this is memorable, or did any of them you say, how can I get from the gift shop to the stage? What's the how do I get from here to there?
There should be a song from the gift shop.
There we go. Let's pick it out.
I remember because when we did finally get to play the Opry, we were working the Opry like 2 nights before or whatever it was, and we played the Opry, and several of the hostesses were just so excited for us, and so many people were just like, how did it feel to be on this stage after, working there, and it was a neat place. It was kind of a second home, and I guess one of the neatest things that happened from our time at the Opry was connecting with some friends that we would later work with and for our friends at the Quebe sisters, and they came through and played the Opry. They're 3 sisters from around Fort Worth, Texas, and I was working one night and I just heard the best 3-part fiddle play in harmony coming out of the house, and really good kind of vintage style vocal harmonies, and thought they were running a tribute to, I didn't know, like a Bob Wills tribute in the house. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
So I went in there and I was, oh my goodness, that's live. So
wow.
I was exiting the Opry that night, and my sister and I were like, we saw them, and we're like, I don't even care what the rules are. We have to tell them how amazing that was.
Yeah.
And so we just, kind of just quickly were like, girls, we really enjoyed it. We're from Texas too. And like, oh, that was awesome. And then they were like, oh yeah, where are y'all from? And it started, we ended up visiting there for a long time. And, fast forward, we stayed in touch. We would always come to all their shows in Nashville, became really good friends. And when we finally moved back to Texas, we started touring with them eventually for about a year and a half. And we ended up playing the Opry stage with them several times with them. It was a neat full circle moment. We met them at the Opry, and it was lots of good memories thinking about those Opry halls. Yeah.
Quite the sound on that stage, legendary. Just to walk out on that stage is if you think about, oh my,
that history.
All of the people that have been here before me.
Gosh.
Stage fright.
I was so nervous when we played the Ryman.
Ryman, yes.
More than the Opry, the new Grand Ole Opry House, that Ryman Auditorium. Buck White and Ricky Skaggs standing in the wings, and Charlie Pride, and I was so nervous.
Yeah.
Playing piano. I was playing swing piano.
Okay.
And thankfully there were 2 shows that night back to back, and we played both because I had to redeem myself after the first one because the nerves got to me.
Did they? Yeah.
Yes, and they hardly do, but they did.
Yeah.
And anyway.
How old were you?
Oh, then I was probably 27. The first time we played it, we were 22. And I'd have to back up a little bit in the story, but that was with a signed artist on Big Machine record label. And we actually got that call shortly after moving to Nashville. So we went to work at the Opry, and then I think it was a couple months later, Ben, our brother, he said, you know, there's a new artist on Big Machine.
Mm-hmm.
Ben at the time was playing with Taylor Swift, who was also on this
Playing with
label.
who?
Yeah, this girl. She's not anything anymore.
Who is it?
Taylor Swift.
Swift.
Yeah,
Okay.
Swift.
Never heard
You
of
should
her.
look her up.
I'll look her up.
There might not be any information on her anymore. She's kind of fizzled out.
Yeah.
He was playing with her,
Yeah.
and she
You got to start
she
somewhere.
owned that label essentially at the time.
Yeah.
I didn't even know
Yeah.
that much.
I've seen it driving through.
Yeah. And so a new artist was signed to that label, and we went to audition for the radio tour.
Okay.
It was like our first, like, this is Nashville audition.
Right.
And so we showed up with our banjo, guitar, and mandolin to the label and played, I think, 3 songs for Scott Bruschetta. Penny and I did, because we were both going to join this guy on his radio tour, which is what every new artist does.
Yeah.
And so we played like a old Joe Clark or some fiddle tune. I can't remember what we played. And we sang a song, and then they brought the artist in. Because we were playing for the label execs, like Scott Bruschetta and a few others. And then they brought in Fisher, the artist, and then we sang some with him. And they were like, okay. And then they called and were like, yeah, we want y'all to do this tour with Fisher.
Yeah.
And we were like, cool. It was contemporary country music. And, you know, it was like we weren't super thrilled about, we get to make these music with Fisher Stevenson. We weren't that thrilled about the music. It was the opportunity. It was a job.
Right.
Playing music. Wow. I could have really honestly cared less what music we were playing.
Yeah. I know someone like that right now, and
Yeah.
he's not playing what he wants to play, but he's playing what he's a great guitar player, but he's playing to able to continue to be a musician,
Right.
and hopefully that next step to play what he
Yeah.
wants to play will come.
Yeah. That's really how you have to look at it. It was an opportunity that we said yes to. And we were 21, and the tour was going to start in January. And so we got the songs, and we worked on the songs, and we hit the road January. For 6 months, we hit, I think, like 350 stations around the country.
Wow. Yeah.
And we were just like little jet setters going everywhere. And it was so fun because it was an all acoustic deal.
Yeah.
And we got to see the country and eat good. It was fun. The Opry was part of that tour.
Okay.
Because the Opry is a live radio show.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I remember when we found out, like, the Opry was going to be part of the tour. I remember we were at a gas station, and Fisher got the call from, like, one of the radio guys from the...
We've made it, huh?
No, he was just like, yeah, the Opry's going to be July, whatever. And I just kind of overheard it. I was like, the Grand Ole Opry. Like, whoa, I didn't know that was part of this.
Yeah.
It was really exciting, yeah.
Yeah.
It was neat.
So as it began to evolve and begin to get to tour like this, did come a point in time where you said, you know, did you go from that gig to another gig, or did you decide?
Yeah.
How did the Purple Hulls play into
Right.
this whole? I'm playing here. I'm
Yeah.
going all over the nation.
Yeah, like
How does
looking
that
back, just chapters closed and then another door would open. You know, the artist eventually got dropped.
Yeah, that happens.
Happens more than it doesn't.
Yeah.
And so, about a year into the deal with him, got dropped, and then it was just a couple months, and we were working at the Opry. We were doing some studio work and teaching lessons. That's what we were doing. It's private lessons.
Oh.
And we had made like this little Christmas instrumental record for John Deere. And it was like 25 songs we recorded in a week. And it was like these very particular arrangements. It's like those CDs that you hear in the big truck stops like in East Tennessee, Smoky Mountain Christmas, and you can
Yeah.
buy the CD there.
Right.
It was neat. It was our first time in the
Yeah.
studio, and it was, getting paid to record music. And so we were kind of doing that for a little while, and then
Another stepping stone to your dream coming. Yeah.
it really was. Well,
Yeah.
it's kind of all part of the dream, you
It
know?
is.
It really, it's all been like learning experiences and fun. So it's and you never know when a season will close. That's
Yeah.
one thing I've noticed is like everything comes to an end, and you almost can't read when it's going to happen. And so it's caused me to have, to really enjoy where I'm at. Because when you first start a new venture, you think you're in it like for a while. You think you're going to be in it for
A lifetime.
a
maybe.
while. You just kind of, you don't think about how is this going to end. You just think about, we just started. And so the next thing we did was we signed a publishing deal with Sony ATV. And man, the story that goes along with how we even landed a publishing deal, me and youngsters who didn't even move to Nashville with that pursuit.
Right.
We didn't have the dream to sign a publishing deal. It just fell into our laps by way of, everything's God's providence, but the way that came about was pretty evident that like we're not in control of anything here. And
That lets you know it's the hand of God, doesn't it?
Yes.
When you know some things we can put in effort and we can try to do something and make things happen and do the right things. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do that, but when you have those, something just falls in your lap, or here's an offer, or that's when you know it's kind of the hand of God as a Christian.
Yeah, it's really exciting because you're just walking, taking the next step, and when you don't try to make something happen, and then you're like, well, I need to say yes to this. And it was very exciting because we got to write with the best writers in the world. Anybody we wanted to write with, we could put in that request, and our point person would contact them for us. And then next thing I knew, it'd be on the books, like you're writing with so-and-so. So many people.
So where were you writing? Where did you show up somewhere? You had a location, instruments in there?
Sony had a building dedicated to writers, and it was called the Fire Hall. And it was
I like that.
is on Music Row next door. It was an old fire station.
Yeah.
And we had like this key fob that would work 24/7, so you could go write whenever you wanted. And there was a studio in there, and then there was like a pool table and all these different writing rooms with pianos inside of them.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the vibe of this.
Yeah. Here we are.
And it was all the writing appointments would start at 10 in the morning usually. That was kind of standard. And you would meet with somebody you'd never met before, and you go into a little room and share ideas, and it might be like a one-day thing where you're like, I didn't really connect with this person that well, or maybe you finished the song in a day and you just never wrote with them again, or it could turn into the first of 6 appointments with that person writing the same song over the span of 2 months.
Right.
So you never knew like who you were going to meet with and how you were going to click.
Kind of a creative process. You might could. I've
Yeah.
heard people say, I wrote that song in 3.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Or no, golly, I wrote the first 2 lines 12 years ago, and then I thought, well, maybe this would work with that, and so I put down another 3 lines, and then 5 years later, it all came together. We were in the studio, and I started.
I love
picking
hearing
it
those
out.
stories.
Yeah.
It's all over the map how songs come to fruition.
Yeah.
The way that it ended up being for us was you had to be like on-demand creative. 10 o'clock,
Yes.
you're with this person. This is your job now.
Produce it.
And I hadn't really practiced being creative on demand.
Right.
And so it was, but I got better at it. We had the contract with Sony was a year. And we pretty much knew the expiration date was going to be, it was going to last a year. And it was, to me, that was like the biggest year of learning for me. Just being surrounded by the talent that we got to to be around every day. It was 5 days a week. And we had access to their studio, and we had access to whatever musicians we wanted. And we recorded a bunch of demos, and it was a neat opportunity. Our brother was as well signed, and so we had signed at that point. I guess this is part of the question you were asking. A stepping stone to what we're doing right now is when we originally signed that deal, we signed it as an artist publishing deal. And so instead of writing for other artists, we were in the position to really write for ourselves. We were kind of thinking about what do we want to produce.
So if you wrote this song, you and Penny, that was your song. It wasn't.
It could be pitched. Stuff did get pitched to artists. If our point person liked what we turned in, she would be like, "Hey, I'm going to pitch this to Josh Turner or whatever," and we'd be like, "Cool." It wasn't really up to us. The songs belonged to Sony. We owned half of the rights. We owned the publishing share, but they're the publisher, and so we owned the writer share. I'm sorry. But to back up just a little bit, because it's pretty interesting how we landed that deal.
I'm curious to all of it. Yeah.
I don't know if you know the story. If you talked to Ben before, but never had writing experience. I'd never really tried our hand at writing. It was really just from the time we were in high school to being in Nashville, we were just woodshedding instruments. And Ben had been on the road with Taylor Swift, that obscure artist. And he was on the road with Taylor, and he was at the same time writing every now and then with a buddy downtown on Music Row. And during one of these writing appointments, Ben noticed a guy breaking into his buddy's truck out the window, like in the alley of Music Row. And so, kind of long story short, he caught one of the guys. I mean, ran after him down Music Row, through the alley, gun in hand, eventually when the cops got there. And
I can't imagine Ben.
Can you
packing.
imagine?
Wow.
And he was in overalls, and I'm imagining it was quite the sight.
I bet it was.
I think a lot of people, when they called the cops to describe the scene, it was like, this crazy man in overalls is chasing after this other guy, and I think he has a gun. And
citizens arrest here.
It ended up that Music Row and all the execs on Music Row were just thrilled that somebody had finally caught this guy, and it wasn't the cops. These guys had been doing this for 2 years, breaking into cars in the middle of the day. And so Scott Swift, Taylor's dad, wrote out like this mass email, was like, Taylor Swift's very own Banjo Ben catches the criminals. You can thank Banjo Ben for this or whatever. And Troy Tomlinson at Sony, who's the president of Sony, wrote back, I want to meet this guy, send him up. I want to give him a thank you. And Ben went up to meet Troy Tomlinson at Sony ATV, and Troy said, they kind of hit it off. Troy was just a country boy from Kentucky. I don't even think he graduated high school, but he types with one finger, but he's just, successful. And very down-to-earth guy, and he asked Ben if there's anything he could do for him. And Ben said, I have a couple sisters that moved to town, not too long ago, and, we'd maybe like to play a little music together. Can we come up and play for you? And he said, yeah, come in tomorrow. Oh my gosh. So the next day.
Ask and you shall receive. Huh?
Ask. We went up the next day, and we didn't have a lot of stuff worked up. Ben was busy with Taylor. We were busy on the road. And, or we had been, that had kind of ended. And he liked it. He was like, yeah, let's do an artist deal. And we also, it was also a co-venture with Gary LaVox of Rascal Flatts. He wanted an artist to sign for a publishing deal. So we signed with Gary and Sony. And that was it. They were like, turn in your Schedule A songs, which are any songs you've written before you signed the deal. And I was like, we don't have anything Schedule A. So me and Penny went home and we wrote a song, just to have something. And we wrote, it was a Christmas song. It was called That Special Night, which we recorded. and we turned that in.
And
We were kind of embarrassed that we didn't have any material.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we just were so like, let's just make the most of this. This isn't going to last. We knew that wasn't going to last long because the stipulations were you had to have by the end of the year, you needed to either have a single cut, like it could be somebody else cut it.
Yeah.
That takes a long time.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a record cut. You needed to have a single released. Or you needed to have like a record deal where you're working on a project. And honestly, we weren't looking for that.
Right.
And we just kind of knew that the year was going to be, that was all we were going to have.
Was this enough money to live on, to do that, and
Yeah.
just devote yourself to music, or were you were you still at the Opry?
Yeah, we were always still at the Opry.
You still got other gigs going?
We were teaching, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a very modest deal. It was more about the opportunity.
Yes, yeah.
I think we like split one normal writer's pay, but we wrote 5 days a week.
Right.
And the payoff for us was the studio time and the schedule, like the top tier musicians. So we got to, all that was paid for, and it paid off in that way.
Yeah.
It was a great year, and we still have friends from those times that we wrote with that we go back to Nashville and connect with and write with.
So after a year, that kind of played itself out.
Yeah.
And
I don't know what happened after that. Gosh. Yeah.
That was the missing years.
It played itself out. Oh, so, okay. So during that year, we wrote with Tom T. Hall. And so we wrote with Tom T. Hall at his house.
Yeah.
And we went out to his house in Franklin.
Legend.
Legend. And we, it was such a neat experience. Well, when we signed that publishing deal, we didn't have a band name. We were just 3 people.
Yeah, sure.
But we wrote with Tom, and Tom said, I don't know what name y'all are going to go with, but I'm going to call you Ida Red. And we just thought, okay, Ida Red, cool, we're redheaded.
Okay.
And we went with it. And we named our first release, self-released, self-named title, Ida Red.
And who was the core of that?
Ben, Penny, and I.
Okay.
It was a trio
family.
deal.
Okay.
And we called it Ida Red, but then it didn't work out too well on the online side of things to have that name, because there was a lot of competing, like there's a festival, I think there is a song, there's just a lot associated with it already musically. And we were really sad to like give that up, because it was a cool story that Tom T. Hall named us.
Yeah.
But we kind of decided to rename ourselves, and that was a process in and of itself. And we renamed ourselves the Purple Hulls, because it took us back to our roots. We grew up on a farm, and we grew Purple Hull peas, and it was just kind of an ode to our upbringing,
Yeah.
the Purple Hulls.
Yeah.
I've since questioned, like, why did we go with that sometimes? But it's grown on me over the years. There's been a lot of interesting conversations and connections because our name is the Purple Hulls.
Right.
But anyway,
Yeah.
that was the beginning of my brother's and Penny's and my attempt at like us playing together for the first time was that writing deal, making those demos. Then we decided to get in an actual studio and make a full-length gospel record. It was not encouraged by the Sony, of course, but we thought,
I would
let's
think
do
that
this.
that's probably not on their hot selling, money making. No. They're looking at the bottom line.
Yeah.
You're coming to me. I'm an exec. I'm saying, Katie, let's rethink this, girl.
We weren't using their money. We did a crowdfunding Kickstarter campaign, and we had been able to connect with Ricky Skaggs some.
There you go.
We asked him if we could use his studio, and he had dates that he wasn't using it. So we went up to Hendersonville and recorded a gospel project because my dad put it in our heads. He was like, y'all need to record some of this gospel stuff. We had put a few songs on YouTube, and he's like, y'all should record it, you know, and so we did. That was really fun. It was like.
Did you get Ricky to play on any of it?
No, you know,
No.
he'd come in every now and then, and
Yeah.
his fiddle player at the time is a guy named Andy Leftwich, and he produced it for us.
Okay,
And
there you
we used Ricky's engineer. You know, we used all of his stuff, you know, except for our instruments, and it was such a nice studio, and great room, great grand piano that I got to play for one song. And so we kind of self-released that. So that kind of leads up to, you know, we made that record in 2011, and we released it in 2012, and we started touring a little bit with it. I mean, when I say touring, it wasn't extensive. It was just like, you know, whatever gigs we all could do, because we were all busy doing other things too. Ben was driving buses for artists.
Okay.
And he was also starting his job that he does now with his website, you know. And
Banjo
he had
Ben.
just started that, Banjo Ben, and he was putting a lot of time into that. And so we were booking gigs where we could, and you know, selling the CD, and it was really fun. We were really proud of that project, and then, you know, just a few months into that, we had all traveled down to Louisiana to play, and my parents came to the show. And then I just remember, I mean, this kind of gets into a different part of the story, but I just remember giving my dad a hug after the show, and I could just feel more boniness than I was accustomed to giving him a hug. And it hadn't been too long since we had been home, but I just kind of just noticed, oh, Daddy's getting old. And so, you know, it was like the middle of the summer. We came back to Nashville, and I just remember telling Penny, what if we just go home for like a month and just hang out on the farm? Because we didn't have like a ton booked at that month. And so we told, you know, our boss at the Opry, you know, we won't be working shows. You know, it was a super flexible gig. We won't be working shows. We're going to go home and visit. And so that's what we did. We went home to Kilgore for a month, and I just kind of saw that my dad wasn't feeling well.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the beginning of the end of the Nashville days. We drew it out quite a while, you know, back and forth to Nashville, but the bulk of our time was spent either at home or trying to get back home to help with stuff on the farm. And so we still had all of our stuff.
What was wrong with your dad?
So eventually he was diagnosed with multiple myeloma and amyloid amyloidosis, which is a kind of a complicated condition where your blood deposits protein into your organs. And so essentially it's kind of hardening your organs, and with the multiple myeloma on top of that, it was just the prognosis wasn't good.
Yes.
And so I guess after that month at home, we went back to Nashville, and we're like, you know, we probably need to move back home. We didn't really think about it that much. In a sense, there wasn't a lot to leave.
Right. Yeah.
It was kind of like, what we're doing here, we can do at home for a season.
Sure.
And so we just packed up as much, you know, we're paying rent in this, we had moved into another house, and we were still, you know, having to pay rent, but we're like, let's just go home. And then it turned into like, it was just kind of a 180. It was like Nashville life, super surrounded by music community, always being creative, you know, just always something to do in regards to playing a gig or writing or collaborating or whatever, to moving home. And we canceled all of our shows for months. Because when Daddy got diagnosed, we're like, all right, this means Dallas trips, doctor's appointments. Mom was able to help too, but we kind of took it on as like, we're going to be the chauffeur, we're going to do every appointment. And so then we just stayed at home.
This whole process, how did you see, you know, obviously your parents, godly people, how did you see the hand of God in your dad's illness and bringing you back all the way back into back home again?
I don't think I was looking at the big picture then. I think it was doing the next thing I thought was best. You know, it was, all right, they need us, and so let's go. Looking back, you know, you really can see so much better and clear the work of the Lord and how He's orchestrating things. And now looking back, that year was like the hardest year. But it was also the best.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there was that eternal perspective that you had to have to kind of get you through, you know, and we're watching like our dad just dwindle away physically, you know, just, and he was so tough and he tried so hard, but at the end of it, you know, he's physically wasting away, and that's exactly what Scripture says. You know, your outer selves are wasting away, but your inner selves are being renewed day by day, and that's exactly what we saw in like his relationships with people through the years, like his intentionality of just, you know, being a little bit more, bringing a little bit more meaning to his relationships, and there was a lot of conversations that we had about eternal things, and there was a lot of joy in that.
Nothing like facing your own mortality.
Yeah, you know.
To make you realize the brevity of life and what matters and things like that, and pushes things to the forefront real quick.
Really quick, and I think daily it was just so. Looking back, it was tougher to watch him die than it was when he actually died. You know?
Yes.
It was a lot harder to watch him.
Well, you have the peace, you know.
Yeah, it was.
Where he's he's good with Christ and
and up to that point, I'm just so thankful. Speaking of the Lord's hand, of how He allowed us to have that time, like a year of saying goodbye. You know, and just taking advantage of the time, and that we weren't just, you know, he didn't just drop dead of a heart attack while we were in Nashville. Honestly, gosh, that would have been so hard.
Yeah.
And he did have a massive heart attack in the midst of all of his health issues with the cancer and everything, but it almost paled in comparison to everything else he was dealing with. It was just, another thing. And we put 50,000 miles on our car that year, just going back and forth to Dallas. It was all the time. And we canceled all the shows. I think we maybe took the opportunity to play a few local things if it wouldn't interfere with, you know, taking care of stuff. And Daddy died in July of 2013. And by the way, that year we went back to farming because we were home, and we're like, oh, let's do peas again. We hadn't done that since college. Yeah. And so we raised peas and sold them to the public, did the whole thing. And it was fun. Daddy would sit on the front porch and, you know, and he would be there to answer any questions we had about, like, how do I change this implement out, or the carburetor's clogging up, or, you know, because we were running tractors, and we usually didn't have to fix a bunch of stuff. It was like Daddy would fix that stuff. Yeah. And so when he couldn't, we had to learn. And that was another kind of neat thing that came out of the year, was honestly having to do a lot of the things and grow in that way. And to have him be able to teach us, like, that was a gift. And so he died in 2013 in July, and then to continue with that chapter closed, we thought, we thought we can move back to Nashville.
Sure,
we can move back to Nashville. We were going to move back to Nashville whether Daddy lived and got through it, or if he died.
Right.
We were just like, we like Nashville, you know. Sure. It's kind of the season for us to be there. We're connected. But then going back to those girls that we met at the Opry, we had remained friends with them, gotten a little closer to them friendship-wise, because we were in Texas, and every time we go to the Baylor Hospital, we'd see if they were in town off of tour and be like, what are y'all doing? Y'all want to meet up for whatever? And we were good friends. We all hit it off. And so after Daddy died, and we were a few months into that, they were looking for a couple of band members, and we worked so hard to learn their material. It was kind of out of our wheelhouse because it was more swing. Yeah. And we devoted just probably a couple months to just learning their material, because we had a start date, you know, it was like, I think it was like January the 21st, if I remember, because it was just ingrained. January 21st, 2014 was our first show in Graham, Texas, at this little theater. And that began, I think we were with them in a year and a half. It was so fun. 5 girls, 3 sisters and 2 sisters, and we hit the road with Asleep at the Wheel for several months, you know, that Texas band.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a fun chapter of our time with the Quebe sisters. And musically, it was so fun because it was a stretch, and it was music that we loved when we went to go see them every time they came to Nashville, because we loved it. And we met a lot of connections that after our time ended with the Quebe sisters in 2015, then we were still playing Purple Hulls shows. So we were busy. We'd play Quebe sisters shows, and then we'd go play a Purple Hulls gig.
Yeah.
And so after our time ended with the Quebes, we're like, we need to make a Purple Hulls record. You know, we need to make another record, and let's just play Purple Hulls shows. And we just got so busy and playing bass from Texas. We never thought we would be able to do that. We thought all the action is in Nashville.
Right.
That's where you go to do a music career. And here it was, though, that we were getting inundated with emails because people see you on YouTube, of course. You don't have to have, you don't have to actually be in town in Nashville anymore.
The game has changed so much with the internet now. You have these people now that I was just having a conversation with someone, and this kid just plays 10 hours a day in his basement. Just practices.
Yeah.
And someone says, well, you know, that's pretty good. You know, why don't I bring my camera over and make some videos, and there's YouTube. Let's put these up on YouTube. And all of a sudden, you know, it's 1 million views. There's 5 million. There's 50 million. There's 100 million views. And he thought, well, wow, I'm just down here in Mama's basement,
literally,
kicking it out, and all of a sudden, you know, the next thing you know, he's got a guitar deal, a signature guitar, and famous musicians are saying, hey, you know, do you want to play on my gig, or do you want to come? I want to come out and fly out to meet you in Texas or wherever. And it's you don't need a lot of those people that we once needed, do we?
Well, yeah, I hardly knew Nashville in that way, that you had to be in town connected, and you don't want to get out of the circle for too long, or you'll lose everything, and then it's hard to get back in. The internet has just been so helpful in our journey for getting gigs. And so that's how we've gotten to travel to different countries, and that's how one gig is built on another. Is, oh yeah, you know, the email is, I just saw y'all's version of What a Friend We Have in Jesus on YouTube. Would y'all want to come to Illinois and play blah 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 blah? And then that's the way it's been. And we've had a few record labels approach us, and we've looked at all of them, considered all of them. It was never like, no, we don't need a deal, or we don't want a deal. It was always like, let's see what this is about. Let's see what they can offer. What can they offer that maybe we're lacking in, which they always have something to offer that we're lacking in, but at the end of the day, it was like, I don't really need that exactly, for what we're doing. I can keep 100%. And because we've raised our money for records on the crowdfunding.
There you go.
Nothing against record deals. There was some really good incentives, and we almost signed one. But like I said, at the end of the day, we just didn't think it was the best decision to do it and to commit to that.
I have kind of the same thing. I have a friend who's an author. He's a Christian author. And he had a publishing deal, and they had put out 3 or 4 books. And when he would actually go to the home office, they would have his name up, a parking spot reserved. You know, Katie Clark. You know, no one parked there, and it was all just, everything was lovely, and the books were selling and all
Yeah.
that, and life is good. And in a moment of time, they just dropped him. And he said to himself, he said, I thought that this was like the end of it. But he said, you know, in hindsight, you know, with the internet, the publishing and everything, he is now making more money, having to do less traveling,
Right.
and he keeps it all
Yeah.
just by self-publishing. And he said, had they not done me that favor, I would have just kept turning
Stayed
it
in
out
that.
for him. You know, I thought I had a
Right.
great gig going. Little did I know, God was saying, hey, I think I'm done with that. We're going to shift over here and try this.
That's something. That's probably a common story. I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of self-produced artists out there these days. You
Yeah.
know, build you a website, put you up some videos on YouTube, and spread the word. Self-promotion, social media. We're not the best at all that, but the Lord has taken care of us through the year. I can't believe it. You know, it's been 12 years since we moved back to Texas. So
Yeah.
we've been able to base our travels from Texas and from the farm, essentially. Penny lives in Waco now, but you know, when we moved home to Tennessee, or moved home to Texas, Ben stayed at Nashville because he had a wife and kids, and he was trying to build his website and everything. And it wasn't necessary that he moved down. You know, I was just thankful we were able to. And our older sister lives here too, and she was helping out just as much on the farm,
Yeah,
and our brother-in-law. But it was just what we needed to do, and it meant kind of the end of the season of the Purple Hulls, as we just started, but it ended. You know, but a really kind of neat thing, the way that it's worked out and the Lord's arranged it, is that we're kind of back to playing a few things together, you know, all of a sudden now, because Ben found his way back to Texas.
Yeah.
Never had a huge plan to move back to the farm, but the doors open to where like a house is available for him, and it all worked out to where now he lives 500 yards from my front door, and we work together, and we teach camps together, and surrounding those camps, which we host all around the country. Since 2020, surrounding those camps, we'll play together as a family, and that's kind of the only time we really do. We don't do a lot of touring together, but it's neat that the camps have provided the opportunity for us to still get to make music together.
And if someone wanted to come to one of the camps, what is?
Yeah.
Do you have a website?
Yeah,
How would someone-
banjobenclark.com/events.
Okay.
And it tells about all the upcoming camps, which they're usually a 3-day camp. Occasionally we'll do a 1-day camp, but they're so fun. We've done 40 something, I don't know, something like 40 of these camps, and we're getting ready to head to Montana next week for a camp, and they're always fun. It's like every time we finish one, we're like, I think that was the best one.
Yeah. And what are you teaching there? I mean, is it what instruments?
It's a bluegrass
what's-
camp. So
Okay.
I teach banjo. Penny teaches mandolin. Ben teaches guitar. We will have guest teachers. We have like really great teachers sometimes that join in, and great pickers. We do an all banjo camp, and we have Kristen Benson. If you're not super into bluegrass, you may not know the names, but in the world of bluegrass, it's like the greats, you know. And Alan Mundy, he comes and teaches, who was our teacher in college. This year we have Bill Evans, a great teacher and player. And so we spend like 3 days just all banjo. We'll have like 50 banjo players, and it's got to be some kind of record.
Sounds like fun.
And we host them at the farm. Like
I
that
know,
one's hosted
yeah.
at the farm,
In
and
Kildare,
it's fun. So those have been a way as well for my brother to connect to actual people and not just always do online stuff. And so we've all enjoyed being able to work together as a family, and we all love teaching. So
So the
neat.
lineup is kind of shifted now. You have another Clark's not in the. It's what is the new young lady's name?
Oh yeah,
So
and the Purple Hulls.
Yeah.
Yeah, part of the story is that when we moved back home, and we needed a bass player
Mm-hmm.
to join us, and we've had a few through the years, just
Right.
and since 2022, our friend Sarah Birkland has been playing with us, and she's from Duluth, Minnesota, and she moved down for an adventure. She grew up in a family band playing bass, and so she moved. We met her in Minnesota at a festival, and she filled in for us a couple years in a row, and then she just asked us one day if we could use her in Texas, and she's like, when should I come? You know, we're like, August is a good time to come to Texas.
From Minnesota.
She died.
Yeah.
She died
Yeah,
for about the whole month. But yeah, so we travel, just the three of us, just three girls, in my minivan. So we stuffed that thing to the top, and
Are y'all out touring now?
yeah, we are. We're it's the summer's busy. We got home yesterday from Minnesota, and we had a string of shows up there, and then we go out to Amarillo on Saturday, and then we fly right to Montana for camp. And Sarah joins us at camp, and is very helpful at camp, and so we're busy. Play a lot in Texas, but we go overseas together. Since Sarah's been in the band, we've gone. We've always just been open to going wherever, honestly.
Yeah, sure.
It's fun.
You almost have to be.
Yes.
In
You
the
can't be
business.
too choosy. No.
You know, the people I know, they're like, they get a phone call and someone's like, he's sitting there, well, I'm going to New York now, Ken, when I leave here, and after I go to New York, then I'm going to Nashville for a week to produce a record, then I'll go home for a few days, and they're just...
That's hard. Yeah.
It
None
is.
of us have kids, and so we do have some of that freedom. And
Yes.
Penny lives 3.5 hours away, and so that's been harder.
Yeah.
And we have to make things happen a little differently now. We have a lot more planning, but it's still, that's another grace of the Lord, from the Lord, is that we're able to still do this, because when she got married, which was a very good thing, and I was like, this is long overdue. One of us needs to get married.
Right. Yeah.
So
she's pulling for you.
wherever you've got to go to get married,
yeah.
go do it. And
I noticed some of her posts on social media. Help my sister
Oh my
Katy.
gosh.
Yeah.
That's what this
What a
podcast
gal!
is about.
What a gal! Yeah. If you're interested,
This is just one big pitch.
Yeah, that's it.
And so I didn't know what it was going to look like. Like, how much can she travel and be 3.5 hours away and married?
Yeah,
and
is her husband down on all this, or does he want
she
more
does.
time?
She's very involved in his work as a politician.
Yeah.
And so anyway, the Lord's just made a way for it to be almost seamless.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's more logistics.
Yeah.
You got to raise your price a little bit, because there's more traveling and it's a little harder, but it's been able to work now for 3.5 years, and we're not really planning on slowing down until the end comes. Whenever the Lord kind of closes that door, which might be Penny having a kiddo,
Yep.
And that's what we hope. I hope that we have to
You
stop
bet.
because Penny has a
Sure,
kid.
me too.
I hope it's not some other reason.
Right.
So hopefully that will maybe not even be a close, but maybe just a very. We'll have to change things up a little bit, But it's been a good, fun run. Just full of. It's been so fun and full of people and relationships and blessings, and just walking through the doors that are in front of us, and then just trying to steward what we're given, just trying to, I guess, constantly develop, but also just share it. Just like, hey, this, songwriting, the songs that we write or play, it has a message to it, and that's our way of sharing not only gospel, but, just the love of Christ. And it's not even just about us being on stage and being able to do that. It's always like after shows and surrounding shows that you get to really connect with people.
Yeah, yeah.
To us, that is just as big of a part of the mission, is those times, and the stories that have come out of those times for us, and are really, I guess, rewarding but humbling. That, you know, we're just doing our thing, and the Lord's doing the work. You know, it's like we're just having fun. We're just going and doing and just trying our best and trying to write good songs and just keeping up practicing and saying yes to opportunities. And then it's kind of up to the Lord to work through it all. Because if you can't really try and make all that happen.
Right, right.
You can't try and like, okay, I'm gonna really move people on this show.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, I know this is going to be life-changing. No, those come at the most surprising times. Or a song will hit somebody and you're like, that song did that? Like you'll get feedback about a song, how it meant so much, and you're like, wow, the Lord used that song or that lyric.
Yeah. Well, people are in different places. Sometimes it's just the Spirit of God that can take one line of a song.
Yes.
And that one line of a song, just to wherever they're at, whatever they're going through, they go, wow, that was worth the price of admission right there.
Yeah. I love that.
That was the Lord ministering and the word to me.
The pressure's off, you know.
Yes.
Being that we can't organize that and make it happen, it's kind of nice. It's a very lighthearted endeavor that is lighthearted in a sense, but also something we take really seriously. So when you're before you perform, like, do y'all get together? Do y'all pray, or do you have a routine? I know kind of.
Some people,
so,
you know.
Sometimes it's almost too. It's crazy beforehand, and we won't get to pray together. But yeah, we usually just try to go into it unified, you know. And sometimes that's all you can do. Is we got to get we need to be on the same page. Like, we're not here for ourselves. Like.
Yeah.
We need to be focused and just do the best we can with the talent we've been given right now, and let the Lord do with it what He wants. We play shows that don't include a lot of gospel music too.
Yeah.
And so depending on where we are, they may request none, you know. And it doesn't matter. Like, the Lord still works.
Yeah.
He really does. Like, again, conversations surrounding.
Yes.
Conversations surrounding show times on stage, the time that you spend with people, just the light of Christ. You know, if you've got the Lord, you know, you are shining His light no matter what you're doing. So that's just encouraging to me.
It is.
Whenever there are like stipulations on set lists, you know, like this crowd is not gonna, you know, Canada or wherever we are. This crowd's not going to receive your gospel music well. You know, you need to stick to secular songs, and even our secular songs are really family friendly. So
yeah, oh yeah.
So
I remember a story just as you're saying that. Our friend Doyle Dykes, and so Doyle had the honor of playing in the Cavern Club over in England. It's where the Beatles played, and it's just like, you know, to even be asked to play there is like.
Epic.
You know, and so at the end, Doyle's just, you know, he's playing all of his stuff, and at the end, he played Amazing Grace. And it took all his gumption, if I remember if I get this wrong, Doyle, you correct me, okay? You know, he played all of his sets and all that, and people were just wowed by his musicianship. And then the last song was Amazing Grace, and, you know, they were all clapping and the whole time, and when he played Amazing Grace, it was his last song to his time's out, the crowd just went silent. And of course, this is probably not an Amazing Grace crowd, if you know what I mean. This is a crowd where, you know, I'll have another 5 pints of beer, please. So he went out the back door, and he thought, oh, wow. You know, that really bombed. And the manager or something of the club was looking for him. he's out here by himself in the back, and he's, man, God, I played it. I felt like you wanted me to play, get some, get the gospel message out there to these people. And the guy comes out, and you get a brick with your name on it. I don't know if you're familiar with that story.
Yeah.
And they will put you in the wall, but not everybody gets them. And so what Doyle thought he had just blown it. He was like just beating himself up, and the guy comes out, he's got a brick that's got Doyle Dykes. He says, man, that was just, wow. The people were just stunned. They didn't know how to respond. They loved that song. And they were just eating it up. But he was thinking the completely opposite. Yeah. He's thinking, oh no,
right.
this I fell flat on my face here.
Yeah.
So the guy takes him around, and he's got a special spot, and he says, this is where you're going, Doyle. And he's got his brick there. Put his on there, yeah. So anyway, God uses music, and there's all different ways. You can. I really think if you go to the scriptures, I think God created music. There's a lot of different interpretations about the passage in Isaiah. That maybe Satan was originally the worship leader, so to speak, in heaven, and he fell, and all that. Whether that's true or not, I'm not sure. Some people would argue it is, but you see how music ministers to the life of David as he ministered to Saul. He was troubled in his spirit and in his mind. They would bring in David, and he would play his musical instrument, and it just soothed his spirit. The Bible says the evil spirits left, something to that effect. But you even see it now, like with music therapists, where they're scientifically, it's just shown. Insurance companies pay for it, where they go in and you can see someone's all wired up to oxygen, heart rate, everything's showing, and we see what's going on. In biblical times back in history, they would just be called in. Might be the court musician was what we would call a music therapist. You can't sleep, Katie. Get Penny to come play for you, or so and so,
Right.
and it would be therapy to them. So there is something powerful about it, to where it can heal us, and be a more sound mind. Lord knows I need that.
Yeah, we forget how starving sometimes people are for even just like live music. When you're a musician and you're playing it all the time, it just becomes your norm. But we've played some places where people haven't heard, maybe an individual hasn't heard live music for a long time, and just the presence of being in the room with just like music is so moving to them. You forget how special music is, and live music is. We love to go into like nursing homes, and they're just depraved of live music most of the time, and played like the old hymns for these folks, and it brings a lot of people to tears. And I mean, a lot of times it's taken them back to their growing up days in church. These old songs are just, like their native language,
It's like something's clicking again.
Yeah,
You can see
it's
the
so
lights.
familiar, and it just resonates and takes them back. And but also I think, what if you never got to hear live music, or really maybe even canned music, and just music is so powerful and beautiful, and it's its own thing. It's so unique. There's no other language that compares to it. It is a language.
Yes, it is.
And and that's kind of the neat part about it, is no matter where we go, where we've been in the world, it's like everybody appreciates live music. It doesn't. They
do.
It's just sounds, it's just really. And so it's been really fun to share kind of our brand, of gospel music and just bluegrass with people, all around.
I could talk to you all day, Katie.
Yeah, it's really fun.
We're probably getting a little bit long here, but maybe just Katie Clark, folks. man, awesome musician, loves the Lord. We'll put the Purple Hulls website. Y'all have a website? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, we'll put their website on the show notes. Y'all can check out shows and check them out on YouTube and so forth.
Yeah.
But maybe play us a little ditty to close us out here.
All right. Let me tune up.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll play one called There's a Fountain.